Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast, My Journey with Autism. Number 13, lucky number 13. Anyway, I would like to talk about what happened about my job. I know some of you know I was working at a coffee shop locally downtown. Great place at first, but I would like to tell you what happened a few days ago and how it led up to this and my experience, my feelings about what happened. So if any of you guys are listening or my mom's friends, I may say stuff that she may not take very well, my mom. She may take offense to. As you know, people on the spectrum are very honest. So I'm going to be very honest and my true feelings. If people take offense to that, I apologize, but I am trying to get a point across to everyone who is listening. So, I will start kind of at the beginning, but not right when I got hired, because that, you don't really need to know that part. Well, it's a local coffee shop, locally kind of owned by a husband and wife. And when I started, I felt welcomed. I felt that, it would be a great place to start. I was desperate to get a job. I needed the money, as probably a lot of you understand that struggle, because things are very expensive nowadays. But I really needed a job. My husband was working, so I needed to, contribute to our living situation. And she hired me on the spot, which was great. I was very proud and shocked that I got hired on the spot. Awesome. And, I was up front with her. I said, hey, do you know about autism? And she said she was familiar. And in my mind, I thought that wasn't very confident in knowing that this diagnosis I have. So I felt, okay, we'll see how this goes. I need a job. She seemed very friendly when I met and got kind of this interview and got hired. And I had my job coach there kind of explaining a little bit too. So time goes on. I'm doing really well in my job. I'm kind of shy and quiet. That's who I am before I feel comfortable. I see employees go in and out. Some are not very consistent with their job. Well, one starts, they quit, they don't show, they quit. It was just really, it was interesting to me. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not that kind of person. I want to keep my job. I want to have my boss be very proud of me. So I ended up doing really well. She was very proud of me, and I was very proud of myself that I was accomplishing a job. I was a barista assistant. She never expected me to be a barista because she kind of after a while knew that was probably going to be a little difficult for me, which it would be. It was dealing with customers and talking to people, which is not my strong suit in who I am. Can practice and maybe eventually work up to that if I had a lot of support. But right off the bat, no, that would be very hard for me. So anyway, I had this one coworker, male. He struggled with things too because we would text back and forth, and we got along really, really well. And he understood me, and it was so nice working with this guy. Even though he had struggles, he was a barista, but he came so far in his ability to talk to people and announce the drink that was come up, after they would make it and put it on the counter. He really impressed me, and, he did. I see the growth in him, and I was very, very happy for him. And I said, hey, through a text, I'm very proud of you. You came very far. And he said, thank you. That means a lot. So anyway, he worked for a while there, and he was a little different, but that didn't, it was a little different what he said, what he wanted to be. It was a little difficult, but it never made me feel to judge him. It was his own choice, and he was an amazing person, and I accepted him for who he was. He accepted me. Great. I'm not going to judge who you are. That's your path. Great. And he ended up having to quit back in September. I was devastated knowing he was quitting. It really hurt me. I felt like I had a connection with him, and he, quit because he was moving on to other things. He wanted to move because of such things, and I understood, but it still really hurt me. And the last day I worked with him and I got off my work shift, I walked home in tears because he was amazing. I really felt a connection with him, even though we didn't really talk in person very much. It was a very quiet shift, me and him, but I felt I had a connection with him, and I was sad to see him go. He made amazing progress in his barista skills. So, he moved on, and I still stayed there. And we hired one girl back probably in July when this other coworker was still there. And, I felt like, wow, she's very bubbly. She came up to this coworker and started talking to him. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting, cool. But I was still kind of like, wow, she's really out there. Well, she's like to the customers, oh, hi, how are you? Just like really there. And I'm just like, okay, let's just see how this goes. I'm not really used to that. So, I didn't really have a lot of friends, a lot of coworkers, and a lot of people were becoming friends with each other or whatever the case. And I was in the back, just kind of like, okay, well, let's get this girl's number to start a conversation, maybe start a friendship. So that's what I did. And it went well. I felt this girl would be very sweet to me, and she was at the time. She was nice to me, and I really wanted to hang out with her more. We made plans to hang out. I did meet with her once at another coffee shop we have in town. And I felt like, hey, I really want to be with her. I told her stuff about me right off the bat. And it seemed like she wanted to understand, but she really didn't understand because, she didn't really know. So time went on. And, I felt really happy, and I didn't want to mess anything up in our relationship. I felt really like, okay, I need to be honest with this person, this and that. And I would text her. She would text back whenever she could or whatever. And I went on a trip to Texas with my husband to see his family for Christmas this past year. And I would text her, I told her, call me, blah, blah, blah. I feel really stressed out going to this trip because, trips or staying in other people's houses really, really was hard on me. So I needed her support for me to be okay. She would text me here and there, and she kind of didn't. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I came back from my trip, and she never really answered me after that. It was kind of like she dropped communicating with me, and it felt really, really weird. So I was very confused. So we, had shifts together. It just felt interesting, and I never heard anything. Well, one day I was kind of like, okay, I need to go to work, even though I feel very stressed out. What is going on here? And I came into work. She said hi to me because one time when I went to work, she didn't say hi to me, and I felt very weird because normally she would say hi. So it made me feel very uncomfortable after that to go work with her. So I scheduled a shift with her this time, and she said hi. Yeah, okay. And, I sent this big text from my therapist about you could be friendly to me at work, but, other things I said in the text. So she was friendly. I went back in the back where I usually go in the kitchen. There was a note for me. It said my name. Can we have boundaries? Please forgive me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote her back. Are we still friends? I forgive you, this and that. Okay. So things seemed okay at that time after what happened, that she just totally ignored me, didn't respond. So time went on, and it seemed okay. And I had another check-in, with my boss and everything, just like, okay, stuff was happening. This was before she responded to me again. And we had a little check-in. Okay, here, we can help Kayla, do, let's help her improve and everything. I said everything was good with this coworker again. I totally forgot about we had another meeting. But anyway, it was a kind of like a helpful thing. So time went on, and I thought things were fine. But I guess they weren't. She ignored me once again, and I thought we were going to set boundaries, and I kept saying, hey, why are we going to set up boundaries? Kept trying to get an answer from her. What did I do wrong? What's going on? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. She didn't do anything. So I have severe anxiety, and, I was like, what's going on? I felt really uneasy with this girl and had a lot of anxiety, because if I have anxiety, I shut down. I refuse to do things. So, she ignored me. Then I decided, okay, I'm very uncomfortable. And with my therapist support, I was like, okay, well, I kind of need time to myself to really reflect. So I had some shifts covered. I never mentioned the person's name or anything. And I got them covered. And I really was trying to get an answer. And my boss does not want any kind of drama whatsoever. And this other meeting we had, she thought I knew what the meeting was about. She's like, oh, do you know what the meeting's about? I'm like, well, no, you never explained this to me. You never pulled me aside to say, hey, we're going to have a meeting. She emailed my job coach. And so we had a meeting. And she was telling me that the girls were telling her things like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. Picking on me, like, what the heck? Like, I see other things that the coworkers do, but I don't constantly text my bosses, oh, this is what she's doing. It felt really unfair, like I was a target. So, it felt really weird. I felt picked on. And it felt very unfair. My boss was wanting me to go up to people and say, hey, move. I want to sweep and mop, because that was one of my duties at the closing shift. And I can't do that. I don't come up to people and say, hey, hi, how are you? So are you really serious about me doing that? Girls can see what I need to do. Move away. Move to the side. See that she needs to get in here. Don't expect me to always come up to them. They need to be more accommodating, okay? So that's very stressful for me. So, things seemed okay, kind of. I was still very, very stressed working with this girl. I felt very uncomfortable. Just things were not settled. Things needed to be worked out. So about a week ago, I was scheduled to work with this girl who I felt very uncomfortable with. And I was like, I had a plan in my head. I'm going to sit outside, because we have chairs and tables outside for other people to sit. And I sat out there and decided, okay, well, I'm going to sit here until she realizes I'm not at work. Okay? No text, no call, or anything. Like, where are you? Like, like a normal person should be. Like, hey, where is my coworker? Where are you? You need to show up for work. Well, I thought I could sit there and she would come out and say, hey, what's going on? And I would tell her that I'm really hurt by you. This is what's going on. Why aren't you, responding to me? This is not fair. So I sat there and nothing happened. So I decided to leave and be like, wait, you know what? My plan didn't work. What? I was frustrated, overwhelmed. I just didn't know what to do. And, so I continued going to work, and I haven't heard anything. My boss didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. I had my job coach check in with her. Nothing was said about what happened. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. Coming to work one day, not too long ago, and my boss was like, oh, hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so I guess things are okay. So Thursday of this week, I come into work I come into work, sit down, and she goes, "Hi, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Good." She explained to me things with this coworker have gotten worse and worse. You did this Thursday. I'm going to have to let you go. And I was in total shock. I was like, what? Like, really? What things got worse? Like, what was the worst part that I did to try to get answers? I was uncomfortable. What did I do? You didn't explain to me this very well. I deserve more than this. I was very, very sad. And like I said, shocked. I came into work knowing I was going to go to work, but I got let go? What? And so she's like, okay, well, you can sign this paperwork. You don't have to agree with it. So she's like, okay, your coworker has your hot chocolate. And I said, do I have to go today? She's like, yes. Would not really turn around saying, like, looking at me. She didn't even say bye. So at that point, I broke down after I left my job that I just lost, that I put in effort to work so hard. I was a really good cleaner. I showed up on time. I was trying to follow rules, And this happened out of the blue with not a lot of explanation. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I call my mom in tears, just like, Mom, this is what happened. And, my mom has her opinions, which I somewhat really do not agree with. She's felt bad for me. She's like, yes, it's very painful to lose a job. I'm sorry. If we did ask for your job back, if we all worked together, maybe there's emotion behind there. So, and I'm like, okay, I didn't really know what to think at the time. I was so hurt. And I talked to her again yesterday, and she's like, well, she talked to my boss, and she's like, you're not going to get your job back. You're done there. My mom told me. And that your boss did say that she had notes written on the board for you, which she never did. That was not true. And and she also mentioned to my mom that she suggests a job for me not to be social, basically. And I thought that was so unfair because being on the spectrum is hard for people to be social, so they want them to be more social. I want to be more social. I have come so far. For her to say that, I was like, no, that is not correct. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to be in a room to myself with nobody being social with me, And so I thought it was so unfair. I'm like, no, I need to continue moving forward. I am not going to go backwards. I have come too far to go backwards. And so that was a little sad to hear. That I thought that was a little unfair to me. So to me, I got fired for a disability that I have, that it's hard for me in situations as I feel overwhelmed. And I just wanted to make friends and be social. And I got fired for something like that she didn't want to really understand me or even check in with me before things got worse. Like, I thought we had more of a game plan here. So where is the fairness in that? That's not fair to me. If you're put me in a situation that is stressful for me, I shut down. I refuse. That's what happens. You can read about autism, and they have meltdowns or refuse. I've done this before. I have refused. I have shut down. This is who I am. I cannot shut off my disability and come into work and say, hey, I'm cured. That's not it. I can't do that. That's not it. Okay? I can't rip off a Band-Aid and say, hey, I'm cured from my underlying disability. No, I'm sorry, but that I cannot be like your other employees. I'm sorry. I have a disability. I'm working through it, but I'm not cured from it. I have this for life, and I'm dealing with it. But for you to fire me from something that is not a cure from a medicine or an overnight cure, that's unfair. And to not explain to me, I needed more communication from my boss. I needed more support, and I didn't get it. I thought it was going to work out. And so I've had a rough couple of days trying to process why this happened to me. It feels like she chose a coworker who was a normal functioning, neurotypical person over a person who struggles and has a hard time, and she has different behaviors that you didn't understand or wanted to understand. And I got fired over that. And a coworker who was not as long been there for me. No, that's really unfair to me. That hurt me so bad. And my mom goes back and forth, and I tell her, she's like, well, you could have prevented this because you could have reached out to me or your sister. Well, you never reach out to us anymore. And I said, you know what? I don't reach out to you anymore because you put me down. And that's true. She puts me down. She goes back and forth of like, oh, wait, I'm going to go and believe your boss. You're done there. There's nothing to be done. Blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, yeah, she just goes back and forth. You could have prevented this. I'm sorry, but I tried my hardest. And when your boss says, I don't want any drama in the workforce, where am I supposed to go? Who am I supposed to talk to? I felt like I can't talk to anybody at work about anything because you tell me this. I only have my therapist, and then I have my mom who puts me down in some ways because she puts me down in some ways and hurts my feelings. Like, I feel like I failed because it's like, oh, guess what? She lost her job. She's a failure because she didn't try hard enough or whatever the case. I felt like I let down my family because they have so many other opinions. It's like, oh, if my sister does this, it's fine. If I do it, it's not fine. So I feel so awful right now that I got chose over a person who wasn't there as long as I have, and I tried my hardest, but my boss was not really willing to sit down with me and really work with me. That's so unfair. And listen to other people and just pick on me. No, don't do that. Okay. I'm sorry, but this could have been handled way better. This was not right for an employer to do this to a person who struggles. That is, I am so sorry, but this is not right. I think whoever is working in the workforce right now who has a disability, autism, especially because I am trying to advocate for other people or show awareness and spread awareness for others, I think, whoever is struggling, really check in and have people check in for you or whatever the case so you don't end up in my situation for a boss to fire a person who struggles and did something a little different. That is not right. I really think it's illegal to fire me for something like that, and it should be illegal and be, it should be against the law for somebody to do that for a person who has a disability. It's not right. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I am hurt. It was unfair to me, and it has really, really crushed me. I have been crying for a few days. I really hope this podcast of mine right now really goes out there in a positive way and spread this awareness of what my boss did to me and my coworker, the unfairness, and of somebody who struggles in life and decides to let them go. So I really encourage everyone to really listen to this carefully and to just learn from it. And hopefully it doesn't happen to any of you guys on the spectrum. It's just so unfair. I may seem that I don't have anything, but I do. I really do. And we try to reach out to my boss from my therapist of talking to her more about what's going on with me. She never answered for weeks, and then she finally did answer this past Tuesday, and my therapist was trying to explain to her as much as she can, but she wasn't really willing to listen and decides to let me go. I can't, it's so hard. I am mad. I am hurt. I think this should have not happened. It could have been handled way differently. So to be honest, I am terrified to get another job because I do not want this to happen again to me. I need that support, that communication from a coworker. Talk to me about what's going on. My boss, pull me aside or whatever. Talk to me. Try to help me or want to help me. I need that in the next job. So I just hope this really helps people. I really want that. If people have thought this was okay for her and that's your opinion, but I really don't think it was. Please reach out to me, message me, private message me, whatever you want. I really want support in this and some kind of, I guess, justice in a way. So thanks for listening.